Good day, everyone. My name is Senator Idris Erinlakatabu. I'm here today to briefly analyze bones in human for us. What is called bone? Bone is hard matrix that is made up of minerals and protein fibers called collagen. It is the bone that constitutes 70 to 80% of human skeleton. As you can see, this is human skeleton. What do we even call the skeleton? Skeleton is the bony structure that gives animal rigidity and support. Now in human being, or let's say in human skeletal system, there are two osseous bones that form the human skeleton. These two osseous bones is broadly grouped into two, where we have the axial skeleton, and we have appendicular or subordinate skeleton. For the axial and appendicular skeleton, the axial skeleton constitutes just 80 bones out of the two osseous bones that form the human skeleton, where in appendicular skeleton there is 126 bones. This axial skeleton is a type of skeleton that are found in the mid or central part of the skeleton. As we can easily see now, this is human skeleton. The part of the skeleton that are found in the mid part, starting from this skull and ends in these coccus. That is this is what we call the axial skeleton, and they are just 80 bones. Now, to look at the components of the axial skeleton now, we start with skull. Skull is 22 bones out of the 18 of axial. 2, we have hyoid. There is what we call hyoid bone. This hyoid is just only one bone. Then we have ossicles that we normally call auditory ossicles. Auditory ossicles are just 6 bones. Then we have sternum. There is what we call sternum. Sternum is just a bone. Then we have what we call the ribs. The ribs is 12 pairs. You can see it is 12 pairs, and 12 plus 12 make 24. Now we also have the last one, which is vertebral column. Vertebral column is 26 when they are fully fused. Now, if you calculate all this together, we are going to have 80 bones of axial skeleton. Now, on the issue of the appendicular skeleton, as I said, appendicular skeleton is of 120 bones, and they are subordinate skeleton. They are the one that attach themselves to the main skeleton. That means the axial skeleton can become main skeleton, while the subordinate skeleton is referred to the appendicular skeleton. And they are just 126 bones. And where are they found in the body? These are their location in the body. They are found in the following body region. Number 1, we have what we call pectoral girdle. We have pectoral girdle. As you can see, after having our pectoral girdle is just 4 bones. There are 4 bones that form the pectoral girdle. If this is now, we have upper limb. There is upper limbs. Upper limbs is 60 bones. Then we also have pelvic girdle. We have pelvic girdle. Pelvic girdle is 2 bones. Now the last one we have is lower limb. Lower limbs is also 60 bones. By calculation, we are going to have 126 bones that form this. Now let's not take this one after the other. Let's take them one after the other. As you can see, the skull. Let me quickly show us the skull. This is what we call the skull. The skull is the entire bone of the head, and it is of 22 bones. Now these 22 bones are further grouped into 2, where we have the cranium. We have cranium. To look at the skull now, the 22 bones of the skull, the first one we have cranium, and number 2 of it we have facial bones. So it is this cranium that we do refer to as the brain box. It is called brain box as it is the one that protects the brain. You can see now, we have it protecting the brain. Now the skull is of how many bones? Out of the 22 bones of the skull, the cranium is just 8 bones, while the facial bones are 14. Now in bone analysis in human, let's look at this cranium. Let's look at the cranium, that is the 8 bones of the cranium. Number 1, the first one to look into is that of the what we call frontal. Frontal is how many bones? This is the bone that occupies this space. Here is what we call the frontal. It is just only 1 bone. Now after that, we also have what we call temporal. Temporal is bone that is found that protects our ear. So the temporal is also how many bones? They are the bone that found here. So that is 2 bones. We have temporal. Temporal is 2 bones. Now after the temporal, what other bones do we have? There are bones here that form the sphere of this our skull, as we have a cerebral hemisphere. So the sphere, the portion in which these 2 spheres are occupied and located, is what we call the parietal. We call it parietal. Parietal is how many bones? It's also 2 bones. Now after that, we now have the bones in which our cerebellum is what? Is situated. And that's what we call occipital. We call this one occipital. Occipital is just only 1 bone. The bone that is found here, and that is where it is being located. It's one that contains or that protects our cerebellum. Now the last 2 ones are ethmoid. We have ethmoid and sphenoid. These are the bones that form the base of the skull. That is, they are the ones that form a channel in which the skull meets with the vertebral column, and the space is what we call foramen magnum. Now, for the ethmoid, and this one is 1, this one is also 1. By calculation, we say 1 plus 3 plus 2, that is 3. 3 plus 2, that is 5. 5 plus 1, that is 6, 7, 8. That is the 8th bone of the what? Of the cranium. Now we move to the facial bones. What are the facial bones now? Facial bones are just 14 bones. They are 14 bones. And they are the ones that occupy, that are situated from this, the points of the eyebrow down to this place. That is where we have our facial bones. Now, the facial bones now, I said they are 14. Number 1. We start with the bone that form our eye socket. That's what we call lacrima. Lacrima is the bone that form the eye socket, and they are just 2. Another one is the bone that form our zygoma, that form one of the facial bones here, that sometimes called cheekbone. So this is what we call zygomatic. We call it zygomatic bone. And it's one of the bones that differentiates face of a female from the male because of the protrusion of this kind of bone. So the zygomatic bone are also 2. Then the bone that forms our nose is what we call the nasa. We call it nasa. Nasa is also 2. Now inside the nasa, there are 2 flap-like bones that allow us to produce sound. And this bone is what we call inferior nasa conchae. Inferior nasa conchae. And this inferior nasa conchae are also 2. They are 2 as well. Now, after that, we have the bone called palatine. Palatine is the bone that has a space called nasolacrimal duct that allow the passage of the tear to run through our nose, particularly when one is crying. And when one is crying, and there's what we call a running nose. So there is tendency for a water that's supposed to be coming out through this eye to be passing out the nose, and that's what we call the running nose. The case is what we call running nose, and the space is what we call nasolacrimal ducts. Now that's all about the palatine. Palatine is just 2 bones as well. Now we also have a bone called maxilla, and this maxilla is the bone of the upper jaw. That is a 2 bone as well. Then we also have a particular bone called femur. Femur is just one bone. Then the last and the largest bone of the skull is what we call mandible. And of all the bones of the skull, everything is just fused together, except that of what? Except that of the mandible that allow for the closing and opening of the mouth. So, and this is what we call mandible is 1. So by calculation, we see 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. 10 plus 2 is 12. Plus 1 and 2. That is our 14. This is the analysis of the what? Of the skull. That is 2 osseous bones we have in the skull. Now we move to the next one, which is called hyoid. On hyoid, it is the bone that is situated inferior. We say it's situated inferior to this mandible. And the major function of the hyoid is to provide a protection for the trachea and the tongue. And that is just, and we do refer to it as the only free floating bone that does not attach to any other bones in the body. Now, we have ossicles. What do we call ossicles? Ossicles are the smallest bone in the body that are found in the ear, particularly in the middle ear. They are the ones that allow us to hear sound as they provide what we call a vibration. Now, these bones are just 6. And what are these bones? The first one is called on the ossicles. On the ossicles now. The first one is what we call hammer. We call it hammer, or we refer to it as malleus. Hammer or malleus. That is just only, it is just 2 bones in both sides of the head. Now we have incus. We have incus. Incus, or we call it armfield. That is another name given to it, and it's also 2 bones. The last one is stapes. And we do refer to these stapes as the smallest bone of the ossicle as well. If you don't want to call it stapes, you can simply refer to it as sterol. We call it sterol. And sterol is also 2, making 6. That is the 6 bones that are found in our ear. Now, the fourth one is what we call the sternum. As you can see, sternum is the breastbone that provides a kind of support for the what? For the ribs, and likewise for the collarbone. As you can see here in the human skeleton as well, this is what we call a sternum. This is a sternum. We refer to it as a breastbone. It is just only one bone. Now, on the case of the ribs, ribs are the flat bones that are mostly descend from what we call thoracic vertebra, and they join with this what? With this sternum in front, and I mean anteriorly. As you can see, the nature by which each of these ribs attaches to the sternum, with this nature, they are being grouped into 3. They are being grouped into how many? Into 3. Where we have, for the ribs now, we say ribs. Ribs are 12 pairs, as I said. Now we now have 3 types of ribs based on the nature of their attachment to the what? To the sternum. We have, number 1 is true rib. We have what we call true rib. What are the true ribs we have? That is rib 1. That is R1 to R7. Another one is rib 2. That is what we call false rib. What are the false ribs? False ribs are those that are, I'm starting from rib 8 to rib 10. Rib 10. That is R10. Now the last one is floating ribs. Is floating ribs. What are the floating ribs? The floating ribs are rib 11 to and what? And let's say and rib 12. As you can see now, and rib 12. So why one is called true rib, why one is called false ribs, and why the other one is called floating ribs? True ribs are the ribs that are really attached to the what? To the sternum by their fibrocartilage. That is, you can see rib 1, rib 2, rib 3, rib 4, rib 5, rib 6, rib 7. You can see they are really attached to the sternum. That's why they are called true rib. The first ribs are the ribs, that is rib 8 to rib 10, that are indirectly attached to what? To the sternum by connecting their cartilage to the fibrocartilage of rib 7. As you can see then, that is rib 8, rib 9, and rib 10. So these ones are called false ribs. and they are the one that helps in formation of the what? And formation of the diaphragm. Then the last one that are called floating ribs, these ones they do not attach to the ribs and to the sternum at all. They are called rib 1, that is rib 11 to rib 12. You can see them here. They are just a kind of free ribs. You can see them. They are the one that provide a kind of support for the abdomen. Now, the last one is what we call vertebral column. On the case of the vertebral column, some can say vertebral column is 33 in number, while you can still say they are 26 in number. How come? For vertebral column in man, vertebral column are the main skeleton in man on which other skeletal parts are formed or are born. Let's put it that way. Now, on this vertebral column, they are found in human, they are found in there are 5 or 6 types of the ribs of vertebral column in human. And what are these? Number 1, we have what we call cervical. There is what we call cervical vertebra, and they are found in the neck region. The one you can easily see in the neck here. So this is the cervical vertebra, and this is them. And we can, as we can just see, we can count them. They are 7 in number. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that is the 7th cervical we have. Now another one is thoracic. Thoracic. If you don't forget, I told you each of the ribs descend from the thoracic, and I told you there are 12 pairs of thoracic. So automatically there are 12 thoracic we have. So thoracic in human is 12. Now the third one is what we call lumbar. Lumbar. Lumbar vertebra are 5 bones, and this is the lumbar vertebra. You can easily see it here. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is the lumbar vertebra. There are 5 bones, as you can see. Now the fourth one is what we call sacrum. When we call it sacrum, that means we are going to write only one bone. But when it is called sacrum, we are going to write, when we write sacrum, we are going to write 5 bones for it. Are we getting it now? So that shows that. And the last one, they are the bones that form the pubic. They form the pubic. Then the last one is what we call caudal. When we write cookies, we are going to write just one bone. And when we write caudal, so we are going to write 4 bones. By the calculation of this now, that means when we calculate this, we are going to have 7 plus 12, that is 19. 19 plus 5, that is 24. 24 plus 1, 25. Here we have 26. But by the time we calculate this, we have this is 9. 9 plus 5 will be 14. 14 plus this will be what? Will be 26. Plus 7 will be 33. So that means the vertebral column, when they are not fused, they are 26. When they are fused, when they are not fused, they are 33. When they are fused, they are 26. So that is all about the exoskeleton. That is the analysis of the 80 bones of exoskeleton in human. Now we move to appendicular skeleton. On the issue of the appendicular skeleton, we can simply start with what we call pectoral girdle. What we call pectoral girdle? Pectoral girdle are the one that provide a base of attachment for the upper limbs. And as you can see, this is the pectoral girdle now. They are the bone that they are called subordinate skeleton. They are called subordinate skeleton. As you can see it here. So this is the component of a pectoral girdle. This bone and this bone is one that form what we call a subordinate skeleton. Now, on that note, what are the bones that form the pectoral girdle? Pectoral girdle. The pectoral girdle are just 4, as I said. That is, we have 2 for each. So that's where we have a scapula. We have scapula. There's what we call scapula. That is that. Or at times we refer to it as shoulder blade. The other one is what we call clavicle. We call it clavicle, or we call it we refer to it as clavicle or shoulder blade. I can simply show you the shoulder blade now. That is there. We call this one clavicle or collarbone. This one is scapula or shoulder blade. As you can see, we can simply represent these with our what? With our scapula, as it has its own features too. What are the features that are common in the scapula? Here we call it glenoid cavity. This is what we call the coracoid. This is what we call acromion. This part is what we call the blade. Then it has what we call spine. So these are the major components of the what? These are the major components of our scapula. And we can easily see it here, as it's one that provides a base of attachment, or for the what? For the upper limbs at the point called glenoid cavity, to allow ball and socket joint of the upper limb. Now, that's all about that. So each of these is 2, making what? Making 4. Now we go to the upper limb. On the case of the upper limb, upper limbs are the upper extremities. As you can see, the entire bones of this arm is what we call upper limbs, or we call it upper extremity. Now here as a single hand, this here we have a 30 bones, here we also have a 30 bones, making 60. Let's now analyze each one after the other. Now, to look at the upper limbs now, the first bones to reckon with is what we call the humerus. We have humerus. You can see the humerus is the bone of the upper arm, or we call it is the bone of the hinged arm. So that is humerus. By calculation of the 2 together, we have 2 humerus. Now, number 2, we have what we call ulna and radius. We have ulna and radius. So these are two bones in each. That is our 4 bones of ulna and radius. Here we have 2 ulna and radius. Here we also have ulna and radius. Say making 4 of the upper limbs that are found in human skeleton. Now that is the bone of the forearm. Number 3 of it, there are irregular bones called carpus. We have carpus. Carpus are the bones of the wrist. They are simply referred to as the bone of the wrist. The bone that form our wrist is what we call carpus. And they are how many? They are just 8 bones. So 8 plus 8 in both sides, we are going to have 16. At the same time, we also have what we call metacarpa. We have metacarpus. So these are the bones of the palm, or we refer to it as the bone of the hand. So these are the bones that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 bones as well. So 5 here, 5 on the other side too, making 10. That is what we call the bone analysis. Another one is what we call the phalanges. We have phalanges. On the phalanges are the bones of the fingers. They are the bones of the fingers. And when we count them, it is only this thumb that has 2 bones. Other has 3 bones. So this is by calculation now. We have 2 here, other is 3. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 making 14. That means we have 14 phalanges here, 14 here, 14 plus 14 will be 28. That is what we call the bone analysis in human. By calculation now, we are going to have 6 plus 2 plus 6, that is a what? That is a 6, plus z, that is 32. 32 plus this will be what? Will be 50. 50 plus 10 will be 60. So that is the bones that we have in the what? In the upper limb. Now let's now move to the pelvic girdle. On the issue of the pelvic girdle, as we have a pectoral girdle that provides a base of attachment for the upper limb, we also have the pelvic girdle that provides a base of attachment for the lower limb. For the pelvic girdle now, pelvic girdle is just 2 bones. There are 2 bones that come up together that form what we call the pelvic girdle. And what are these bones? This bone is called pelvic bone. They are called pelvic bone. People normally refer to as hip bone. These pelvic girdles are joined together by what we call the pubic symphysis. As you can easily see, this is where the 2 bones are joined together that we call the pubic symphysis. And not only that, the other features of the pelvic bone is that the pelvic bone, each of the pelvic bone is made up of the 3 bones that are fully fused together. And what are these bones? We have what we call ischium. There is what we call ischium. There is what we call pubic. and there is what we call ilium. So it is these two bones that come together to form a single pelvic bone. Now, another features of the pelvic bone is that it has what we call a hole through which the blood vessels runs, that mainly the dorsal iliac arteries and dorsal iliac vein. As they are coming directly from the heart, they have to move into our leg and they pass through this hole that we call obturator foramen. And that is why we normally have enough muscles that do cover this side, so that it can just prevent us from what we call petitement epilepsy, or what we call cramp. Now, this type of the kind of the skeletal found is what we call gluteus maximus. Now, not only that as a feature of the what, as the features of the pelvic bone, we also have a channel, a space into which the head of the humerus fits to form ball and socket joints of the lower limb, and that is what we call acetabulum. Those are the features of the what, of the pelvic girdle. Now we move to the last one, which is the lower limb. On the case of the lower limb, as we discuss that of the lower limb, we also have to discuss this of the upper limb. Let's now also look into the lower limbs. For the lower limbs now, when we say lower limbs, this is what we call the lower limb. Let me show you entirely lower limbs. You can see it now. That is what we call lower limb, or we call it lower extremity, or hind extremity, or we call it hind limb. Now, as you can see it here, in this single lower limb, there is what we call 30 bones. The other one also has 30 bones. Let's now analyze each of these. Number one, the first bone to reckon with is what we call the humerus, is what we call the femur. We call it femur. And we do refer to the femur as the strongest and the longest bone in human being. You can even see that this femur has certain features. It has head, it has neck, it has greater trachea, it has lower trachea, it has a shaft, and it has what we call a condyle. So these are the features of the femur. And here we have one, the other side we have one, making two. Now on the case, another bone we have is that of what we call patella. This is the what we call patella, we call it knee cap. Patella is also two in each side. For the both sides, that we have two patella. Now we also move to the bones of the four legs. So what are these two bones now? So here we have the tibia, and we have fibula. You can see this tibia is very tiny, while we have the fibula somewhat stronger than this, as it is this one that bears the muscle of the leg, and why this one allows for the abduction and reflection of the what, of the feet. Now we have four. There are 4 bones. Now aside that, we also have the what we call the tarsa. There is what we call tarsa. That normally that we do refer to as the bones of ankle. This is what we call tarsa. Tarsa is how many bones? Tarsa is 14 bones. That is, we have 7 in each. That is 14 bones. Now aside that, we also have what we call the bones of metatarsa. That is the bone of the feet. We call it metatarsa. Metatarsa is also how many? So as we have in the metacarpal, so they have the same numbers. That is 10. So there are 5, making 10. Now the last one, we also have what we call the phalanges. As we have the phalanges as the bones of the fingers, we also have the phalanges as the bones of the digits. Here we have the 20. We have 28 as well. That is 14 plus 14, making 28. So by our calculation now, what are we going to get? Here we have the 2 plus 2, that is 4. 4 plus 8, 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 6 is 22. 22 plus 28 is 50. 50 plus 10 is 60. So this is what we call, this is the entire 206 bones we have in human skeleton. And that is the end of the bone analysis in human. I still remain my name, Senator Idris Erinlakatabu. Thanks. But before I go, please try and subscribe to Mr. Pure Biology.